Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Rafae Iqbal, and in today's show we'll be doing a yearly roundup of Pakistan's security situation and of course the security dynamics of the region as well. This year started off with a new government being elected in Pakistan with a commitment to resolve the country's challenges. Efforts for economic uplift were seen, but as known as a fact, economic prosperity goes hand in hand with a stable, secure environment and of course with a stable security situation. In this regard, Pakistan's counter-terrorism efforts for the year have been praiseworthy. Pakistan's Foreign Office has constantly emphasized that terrorists have been using Afghan soil to carry out attacks in Pakistan and urged Taliban regime to take action. However, no sincere effort has been taken on their side. The DGISPR, Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry, in a press briefing, also highlighted Pakistan's counter-terrorism efforts and the security threat that has been emanating from Afghanistan. He also highlighted how Pakistan has thwarted the infiltration attempts from the terrorists from the Afghan side into Pakistan, and of course how the Pakistan security forces stand determined and committed to fighting this menace. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, he also termed TTP's actions as a red line and unacceptable, and said of course a dialogue should be held with the Afghan side to resolve this issue bilaterally. But of course he termed TTP's activities in Pakistan as a challenge and a hindrance to of course the resolution of this issue. Pakistan security forces earlier in the year, they launched Operation Azm-e-Istehkam, which was initiated to counter the issue of terrorism. As we know, there's a lot of efforts being done in Pakistan's economic revitalization. CPEC is entering its phase 2. There's a lot of efforts being put in by the regional stakeholders for Central Asian connectivity as well. We know that there's a lot going on in the region. There's a lot going on in Pakistan to attract foreign direct investment. But of course, this security, the security threat that is emanating from the Afghan soil is of course a hindrance to this prosperity process. We'll be deliberating on all the different aspects regarding the security situation and of course Pakistan's efforts in counter-terrorism. In the studios, we've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi. Along with that, we've been joined by geopolitical analyst Faisal. And on Skype, we've been joined by Brigadier retired Nawaz, who is a senior analyst. I'd like to thank you all for your time and being part of the conversation. Starting off from Brigadier Haris. Sir, Pakistan's journey on the war against terrorism. How would you comment on it?
I think Pakistan's journey has been very difficult but very successful and fruitful also. You see, this whole year you must have seen how many times we carried operation. I think 169 intelligence-based operation per day. And overall, if you talk about the whole year, it is 59, rather I would say around 60,000 operations were carried out, and we killed over 900 terrorists also, and the fought gallantly. It's not an officer led from the front. That is what is the quality of military leadership, that our troops are, officers are always lead from the front. Whether he's the GOC, brigade commander, commanding officer, or company commander, or a platoon commander, everybody lead from the front. Then it was a very difficult fight time, but then it was the determination of Chief Army Staff, and he said many times that we are determined to eliminate terrorism from Pakistan and we want to root it out. But the only thing is that in Azm-e-Istehkam, the whole nation has to stand behind the armed forces, because you see, you fight as a nation, the army doesn't fight alone. It needs always the support of all elements of national powers, and particularly I would say illegal spectrum, and that has been emphasized many times. And that means that all smuggling, narcotics, then coming all smuggled vehicles coming, money coming from Hundi, and all going to these terrorist organizations. And then of course the Ashrafia, which we call the people that who are involved in these things, but they opposed it really very badly. It was very unfair to say like that, they rejected it. Because unless you stop money coming from all directions to the terrorists, you can't stop it. It's a root cause. When you don't give money to their families, don't give money to the terrorists who fall prey to these attractions, and then they will all clearly they die down. That's one thing. Then of course, then after that, whatever we have done it, and we have the continue how much we have given Shahadat, and everybody is given it. And now is the time for the new year, I would say, we should have a renewed pledge that the whole nation will stand behind armed forces, and we are going to root out terrorism in year 2025, inshallah. That should be our hope, and we should not look back, we should look forward. Number two, the most important thing is that the nation should stand, and also the trolling which is coming from outside, that should stop, because the enemy narrative is that they want to divide military and the people of Pakistan, and that is very serious, because that's how they can weaken the armed forces like Iraq, Libya, and now what happened in Syria. This, as a nation, we have to defeat enemy narrative, and in that, it's an internal and external enemy. This is what is there, and the in fifth generation war, enemy try to break the will of the to fight by the nation. That is the problem we have. So don't let that the confusion coming up. What is going to happen next? Everything should be clear, and the way we did in, I think you remember in 27 March when February 2019, the DGISP were keeping the nation abreast with each and every moment what was happening. And that Indian accepted. They said, yes, we were defeated in that also, because the DGISP were telling the nation what all was happening and likely to happen. And we were blind. Rather, we were befooled. If their own helicopter were shot down with their own troops, they'd say, no, nothing has happened. So that's how you fight. And I think we must repledge and pledge this next year that we have to now stand behind our forces. Armed forces should be given all resources. And that is what is basically as based the calm, that the element of national power, when with all resources should be given, modern weapon equipment should be given, because Americans, while leaving, have left in abundance weapons, ammunition, night-viewing devices in Afghanistan, that has fallen into the hands of these terrorist organizations. So that is the need we need have, and on that there should be no compromise, because the day you have a secure, business-friendly environments, Pakistan economy will flourish, Pakistan political stability will be there, foreign investment incurs, FDI will come forward, and they will give a lot of investment in Pakistan. The way we have seen in even first quarter, FDI had in foreign defense investment has come $771 million in just 3 months. Just imagine. So, and in the last year, the same quarter, there was $551 million. So these are the indicators that you need to have a security environment. Only then things will improve, and we are very hopeful, and we should be prayed next year that things should come much, much better for the country.
Definitely, including Raja Faisal in the conversation. As Brigadier Harris mentioned, of course, how Pakistan has put an effort to, of course, curb these illegal terrorist activities that are damaging the environment of the country. When we talk about Pakistan's efforts, of course, we know there's a lot of efforts, there's a lot of intelligence-based operations that are being conducted. The Hundi trade is being curbed down, all the trafficking and all the narcotic smuggling is also being curbed down. But despite that, we see, of course, there's this surge in terrorism, because the militants, they're using the Afghan soil and are using Afghanistan's soil as hubs, of course, to carry out their attacks in Pakistan. Of course, Pakistan has repeatedly called upon the interim authorities in Afghanistan to curb this issue. How do you think this matter proceeds in the future, when Pakistan is focused on its economic security, but of course this threat looms from one of its neighbors?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And before heading towards that, first of all, I just wanted to say that there were three primary aspects when it comes to security dilemma Pakistan was faced, and Pakistan security forces, they have been fighting all three. And number one was, of course, the terrorists wanted to hit the morale of the people at large and the forces at large. That is why they have been carrying out activities against the people. They were carrying out activities against the security forces. And the second one was they were trying to hit Pakistan's economic endeavors when it comes to CPAC. Of course, we have been seeing terrorists trying to hit Pakistan's relations with China in terms of Pakistan having CPAC along with China. And we know that the Chinese nationals, Pakistan security forces, they have been day and night securing them in Pakistan, knowing the fact that the enemy wants to, of course, hit the relationships, bilateral relations of Pakistan and China. The third one was, of course, when we talk about the hybrid war, we have time and again highlighted this, that what enemy wants is that they want to see a distance, increasing distance between the armed forces and people at large, which time and again armed forces are making sure that this nefarious design of our enemy, it is never successful. And in all of these three aspects, we have been seeing that our forces day and night, they were trying their level best to, of course, make sure the Pakistan and Pakistan's endeavors, economic endeavors, are safeguarded. And as you have mentioned, that of course, when it comes to Pakistan and Pakistan's forces as well, we very well know that Pak-Afghan border, Afghanistan, the neighboring provinces of Afghanistan to Pakistan, they have been utilized by the enemy, be it India or be it enemy sitting elsewhere. They have been facilitating, financing the terrorism, and they've been of course trying their hard to hit Pakistan. And at the same time, knowing the facts that trade of Pakistan with the Afghan regime, Taliban regime, that has been going on, and when it comes to the illegal trade, Pakistan, at the same time, Pakistan's forces, they were trying to, of course, nib it and nab it at the same time. And we have been, of course, we have been seeing that the smuggling aspect and the people who were involved in smuggling, time and again, they have been caught and they have been tried as well. And the smuggling aspect, and especially when we know that dollar has been getting out of the country and most probably getting into Afghanistan. That is why we have been seeing that Afghanistan as a country, still it was persisting in terms of taking all of the pressures. We know their government is not acceptable to any of the countries, any Western countries. They don't endorse it, but still their economy, it keeps on going smooth. Or the only reason is they were initially there were smugglers involved in it who were pumping dollars in there from Pakistan side. That was nipped as well. So to me, I think these were the successful aspects of it. And at the same time, Rafae, as Brigadier Haris rightly pointed out, since war on terror, we have been seeing war on terror. I am straight away going to say that since the 2000s till now, this year, there were the most numbers of IBOs that were conducted, and under the leadership of General Asim Munir, we have been seeing that the will to fight, it had extra boost. And since the year started, we know that the element of Kharij that was being countered with the fresh will and with the magnitude of IBOs increasing to a level that is unprecedented. And of course, when we talk about Azm-e-Istihkam, that has a lot to do, as we know that Chief of Army Staff himself time and again highlighted that we know that the enemy wants to hit our economic endeavors, and we have to safeguard that as well. And at the same time, we know SIFC was doing brilliant work, and I think it's an open secret that it was an initiative, a personal interest of Chief of the Army Staff once more, and that is why we have been seeing that SIFC was of course involved in all of these crimes related to the smuggling, and they were cracking it down. And since the day one, I mean, the will of the security forces, that has been displayed at the best of the levels. So to me, I think this year is very significant in terms of fighting not only against the terrorism, but against the economic terrorism as well.
Definitely, including comments from Farrukh Pitafi as well. So, as we know, Pakistan has been, of course, in this year, Pakistan has been constantly engaging with the Afghan Taliban regime. Of course, we know there were kinetic moves and non-kinetic means as well. How do you comment on how Pakistan has conducted its, of course, diplomacy and its kinetic means as well to ensure a stable and secure environment in the country and, of course, the success, as both of the other panelists have also mentioned?
Right. Thank you very much, Rafae. I think that after a very comprehensive introduction, I thought that you have actually gone with the, through your questions, you have gone with the traditional concept of security. I wanted to actually expand on that. I wanted to include other issues as well.
Definitely.
For example, in the end, Raja Faisal was talking about economics. And I think our numero uno, number one security challenge is economic stability and economic security. If a country does not have healthy economy, then its sovereignty is totally compromised. We have seen it repeatedly everywhere in the world. If your economy is not performing well, then things are not hunky-dory. So this year we have seen after the government actually came back to power, as soon as the government was formed, excuse me, SBA, standby arrangement, actually concluded. And after that, we have gone back to IMF with an EFF. And we saw very speedy, process that started. That actually shows that this government is serious in stabilizing the economy. Of course, fiscal stability, fiscal prudence is needed, structural reforms are needed, and then there is a populist element also. If you don't deliver to the common man on the street, they say, okay, economy might be improving, but where I'm at, what exactly is it doing for us? So I think that this is number one, I think achievement I can call it, but it is transitory achievement, because in this year we have started a long journey which is important. SIFC included, CPEC concerns included, and I hope one day we actually trade with the other side also, because we are focusing on north-south trade. Let us hope there comes a day when we can open east-west corridor as well, India being on board, if it is, whenever it is. The second one, of course, is terrorism. I think that past 2 years have been have witnessed some backsliding, especially in 2022. The kind of deals were cut, and whatever happened after that, there was humongous surge of terrorism. So one thing is clear, and this was correctly pointed out by both our worthy guest commentators, that Army Chief and the Prime Minister both are very clear on the subject. So I hope in coming days we see more clarity. Of course, Afghanistan remains a persistent problem, but the suggestion to Afghan Taliban is that every time we try to fence our border and close whatever remains, their side or somebody from their side, Fitna Khawarij, sometimes their own soldiers, attack our side. The concern right now is if this is not stopped, and if we are not, we don't finish the fence, then what happens? Then it will come to landmines. And if that happens, who is going to suffer most? It is going to be common Afghans who might actually stray into Pakistani territory. So it is important that it should be taken care of. The third one is what we witnessed last month, Rafae, and I call it militant dissent. And of course, Faisal spoke about hybrid warfare also. That is also part of it, because our enemy is very clever. Whosoever is in power, of course, the other side is always going to be grumpy. So what they do is they add more weight to their side's arguments. And because of all that verbal violence, people get angry. And because this side, the PTS side, seems to be very impressionable, every other day they seem to come to streets and they start agitating, especially whenever there is some diplomatic event going on in Islamabad, foreign visits and all. So this remains a challenge. I hope the talks that start from 2nd of January take care of this matter. Otherwise, hybrid warfare might increase, and it might also pose a structural challenge. India. I mean, one would have thought starting this year that because India is going into election, and last time in 2019 they used Pakistan as a jump board to get elected. So this time it is going to happen also. But luckily, perhaps now the armed forces chiefs there are more professional, unlike General Rawat. So what we saw was that there wasn't any such attempt. And I'm grateful for that kind of professionalism wherever it comes from. I hope in coming days also we see that we can work in certain aspects. We already are working as allies in war on terror. We were allies, supposed to be allies. Climate change is a common threat to both, and I'm going to go to that as well. But I hope one day India wakes up and realizes there is a ready-made partner in Pakistan and we can work together. So at this moment, at least, they have stopped being part of bigger problem, always creating trouble, particularly in borders, on borders, and of course, directly confronting. Of course, hybrid warfare is also their skill, and they are continuing it. So that will continue, but we'll have to gradually reach there. Very quickly, two more things. Climate change and food security. We saw climate change in 2022, whatever happened. Because of that, the country always is nervous. And after that, in that year, we also saw that food security was seriously impaired as well, because Pakistan is an agrarian country and agriculture was badly affected. We haven't been able to take care of both these matters. In agriculture, we haven't invested heavily in ensuring, climate resilient crops, and we haven't seen that kind of climate, change challenges being addressed heads on. I hope that changes. Finally, foreign policy, and this is something that one has to look at. Every time there is something momentous going on, Pakistan seems to lose its diplomatic muscle. For example, right now, what is happening is Donald Trump has actually won election, and immediately what happened, he hasn't taken over, but there seems to be an incapacity on our part to break through to him. Like India has sent its foreign minister who's sitting there asking for an invitation to Narendra Modi for inauguration. Similar kind of things are there, but they somehow get to the other side. What happened was we haven't been able to communicate with Trump. On the other side, what has happened is Biden administration seems to have slapped sanctions on our missile program. And somehow our media is so innocent or so naive that it keeps on confusing missile program with nuclear program. So that naivete is also a problem. So this is a roundup of major security concerns we saw in this year and many of the challenges which still remain unresolved.
Definitely, that brings me to a question, and I'll pose it to as Brigadier Harris. As we talk about, of course, as we talked about the 5G war, this hybrid war, and of course how media also plays a very big role, and we're talking about the security environment. Of course, we're living in this digital era where there's a big issue of misinformation and disinformation. We know in the country, in Pakistan as well, we saw a lot of the propaganda was being spread against the state institutions. As you said, in these times, these are war of narratives. Do you think more action needs to be taken? Of course, we have laws in place in the country, but do you think they need to be made more comprehensive?
You see, the most important point is what all we are saying, that enemy is what fifth generation war on us. Then the foreign trolling is coming out, social media you see, internal problems coming. What all we have seen for the last 2-3 years, what countermeasures we have got. You see, PICA and so many, they are already implemented. The only thing you have to implement. And in case one of the political party social media team is working from the abroad, what we have done, have we brought any counter narrative? Have we selected any good talented youth to pitch against them and tell them to build a counter narrative? Nothing is happening. So this is the prime responsibility of the government of Pakistan to ensure that at least counter narrative built. This is the most important thing. Now the war will start much later on. It is the mind of wits and how they break the will of your country's people. That's more important. For that, you have to see and keep people alive. Don't let the fake news spreading all around and people should start accepting. For that, what you have to do is bring political stability, keep people of Pakistan happy, give them relief, get them a job opportunity. Don't let your youth go abroad and we are having a drainage of all this youth. That is the thing the government has to do. When people are happy with the government of Pakistan, they will not buy the fake news. They will not listen to them. But when they're not happy, they're disturbed, they can't meet at both ends. Their children can't get good education, they can't good job opportunities. Price is lot of commodity items is high. Then petrol, diesel prices are not coming down. You can't go meet the world market, export market. Then this is more as easy for the enemy to infiltrate and then break the will of people. That is the thing we have so done nothing. And everywhere we have to ensure this. For the first next year, from January onward, I think the government should make a proper comprehensive plan for this. Job opportunities, then of course bring the prices down, bring political stability, bring economic stability, and improve export by keeping prices of this electricity, then of course diesel, so on so things. These are the matters we have not done it. We keep talking about it, and there are certain acts are there, sections are there, but those not implemented. Important thing that's so we don't have to look back and we say real to 2025 is really a good year for us and we've done a lot of things. Chief Army Staff Nasim Neer has done a lot in SIFC. The way I think Faisal also said, and of course Pitafi also said, the only thing is it is not one man job. Everybody has to come. You see, it Green Pakistan Initiative, information technology. This we should make a challenge that information technology should go really flying high. Then of course we have a minor minerals, then Green Pakistan, likewise minor minerals. These are the things where we can do a lot and still we have not explored all these things. I think this is the policy should be coming from Prime Minister of Pakistan, that we are going to invest and take a lot of interest, and we have made a comprehensive policy, and in January, in the month of January, a whole plan should be dished out, worked out, so that we improve properly. Along with, of course, the second thing, most important will remain problem is security. If your relations with Afghanistan improve, and therefore that I would say foreign affairs, military to military, government to government, people to people contact have to be made and their relations have to improve, because we cannot afford that Indians should go and permanent sit over there. We can't have a two-front threat scenario, which we had shared I think last 5-6 years back. That is, we used to take it as our strategic depth. So these things will work, then we can have a lot of foreign investment coming. Pakistan will secure. Tourism we can improve. It's a tremendous, out of the world area. I've seen all over Pakistan, northern areas and Kashmir. Really, you can't believe what is there. People are people, they can't afford now going outside, it's so expensive. No, so give them this site. Show them a good positive picture of Pakistan. So these are the things we do it. I think Pakistan has a lot of scope to become at least leading economy and should be very happy as long as this region is concerned.
Definitely, I'd like to include Raja Faisal's remarks as well. So, Raja, we talk about when we talk about the security environment, of course, and we talk about the political environment in the country. We know there's talks for a charter of economy, there's talks for a charter of democracy. Do you think it's high time that a charter for national security should also be signed, considering these political indifferences? The national interest should be held above all those.
It's an excellent question, and when we talk about consensus on economy and consensus, political consensus in the country, I mean, me and Farrukh Pitafi, we have advocated it since long. I mean, we have always been saying it, that if not the political consensus, at least achieve economic consensus, that none of the political parties would jump the red line to obviously destroy its country's own economy. Because when we obviously talk about economy, it's not only a one political party that gets affected, it's the whole country that gets affected. And I think that should be the red line. I mean, premier example in front of us is the European countries and the West itself. No matter what, I mean, none of the political parties is allowed to disrupt the country to a level where insecurity in terms of economic insecurity is persisting in the society, And still, no matter what, I mean, we have seen a country like Britain, it has seen so many of prime ministers in a short span, but nothing happened to their economy. Reason being,
Excuse me, I don't agree.
Yes, it has a lot to do. It has a lot to do, Farrukh, with the Ukrainian crisis. We can say that. And yes, of course, the country itself was obviously shifting in terms of Brexit, and everything was involved in it. But still, you can't say that people are not desired to invest money in Britain. Still, people have a desire to invest money in there, in different sectors in there. So that's how a country's economy should be: receptive towards FDIs, receptive towards more economic activity, and that's how it should be. All of the political parties should do that. And when it comes to, of course, political instability, that can be addressed through once more all parties conference, in which that can be pledged that no matter what, the country should never be taken to that brink where it faces political dilemma. And when it comes to security itself, I mean, we know the last year's 9th May incident, it is a clear example of a political brawl reaching to a point where countries very special and countries very dear security forces, I mean, they are dragged into it. And literally, I'm telling you, they are dragged into it. And these are the people who kept on saying that we are apolitical, we have nothing to do with the politics. But the political parties, they simply hold them with both of the hands and drag them into it and tell them, no, you have to be part of it. And I think that needs to be vanished, finished, if we want to see a security obviously consensus in the country. And that should be pledged by all of the political parties. Eventually, political parties are a sort of face of the people, because they represent the people, and they are the ones who get elected and come to the Constitution Avenue in one of the most sacred buildings, and that is Parliament. And this is where they obviously contribute in terms of people's will. And with the people, with the help of the people's will, they create the Constitution, they amend the Constitution, and they obviously take the country to its course. And overall, I mean, another point which I wanted to highlight while I was listening to Brigadier Harris, and he rightly pointed out, when it comes to Afghanistan, of course, even Afghan people, they need to understand this. Taliban regime, they need to understand this. They had a chance. I mean, when they got back into power, fair enough, before coming into power, they had different sort of preferences in terms of who's their friend and who's their enemy and who's their foe, who's been fighting shoulder to shoulder with them against the Americans. And that mattered at that time, because before that, before coming into power, they were in the state of war. When you are in the state of war, you make decisions out of desperation. At that time, if they kept going with the good relations with the terrorists, that would have been considered as a decision of desperation, out of desperation. But now, when they are in the power, when they are in the power corridors, when they are controlling Kabul, when they are controlling Afghanistan, and there is no other power, and they are the ultimate power in there, now they should be wise enough. In the peace times, your decisions should reflect your wisdom. That wisdom is missing somewhere, and they need to be wise about it. When we ask about, they have to, of course, clean up their own provinces that are bordering with Pakistan, it means that the people who might have been or not have been their enemies or their friends at the same time, they have to get rid of them. That is why, I mean, earlier this month, we saw one of their own ministers, he got murdered in there, he got killed in there. And why it happened? Because they're still having them kind of friendships that are on the lines of terrorism. It's not the point when they have to distinguish between the good terrorist or the bad terrorist. Terrorist is a terrorist. It's no good terrorist. It's just the terrorist. And when it comes to, of course, we thinking about Afghanistan in a positive way, time and again we have highlighted that it is the peace time in Afghanistan now. Let's create some opportunities for even youthful people of Afghanistan through how we could easily connect CPAC with the Central Asian republics, ending up to Russia itself through Afghanistan. When it goes through Afghanistan, of course, it creates opportunities for people at large in Afghanistan. And it's time that they need to move on from the AK-47s and from the Toyota Hiluxes. They have to move on towards dragging the country into peaceful domain. And
civilization.
Civilization, and not relying upon the same old tactics of having the factories, the terrorism factories in their country, in the backyards, and expecting that people would be poured in terms of different intelligence agencies. They would be pouring money in there. And if this is the case, then I think Pakistan has set the target and set the precedent this year, in March, in April, and now this month as well. There was a raid, there was an IBO based raid by Pakistan, and it is not going to end here. If the terrorist activities carry on happening from that side, then of course Pakistan would hit them where it really hurts. And Pakistan earlier this year proven it that Pakistan has the 100% accuracy. How I say this? Because we remember when a missile was fired from the Iranian side into Pakistani side, and Pakistan reciprocated it with an IBO, with a conducted operation inside Iran, Sarawan, where the casualties, all of the casualties by their own government, the Iranian government, very responsibly, they said that none of them who were the casualties, they were Iranian nationals. They were all aliens. That means they were BLAs and BLFs. So it is an evidence to the world that Pakistan's air raids, they are 100% precision based air raids. And if Pakistan is going to conduct more in Afghanistan, that means Pakistan is going to follow the same pattern.
Well, that reminds me of what the defense minister said earlier in an interview with the BBC as well, that if attacked, Pakistan has the right to respond. Farrukh Pitafi, I'd like your concluding remarks on how the conversation has shaped up.
Right. The most interesting thing was your question was about economy. And Faisal Sahab actually ended up talking about Afghanistan at length also. I enjoyed his parva. Look, regarding Afghanistan, there is a very humble submission, and that is hardening the border. If you harden the border and ensure that there is no ingress, then you mostly take care of this problem, right? That there are people who are coming from Afghanistan side to Pakistan. There are many things that I want to answer and comment on, but before that I wanted to actually just talk about UK's example, because that unfortunately wasn't a great example. Old boy Dave actually unlocked the doors of hell by bringing in the referendum on Brexit, and after that they could not manage it properly. But the actual Boris Johnson somehow managed to find some kind of level playing field on that. But there was one prime minister called Liz Truss who actually destroyed economy. How did she do it? By bringing in tax cuts when the economy was literally in shambles, right? In the end, after the succession of prime ministers, what they did, they found a brown fall guy who did an incredible good job of trying to turn around the economy. But unfortunately, that was when the time was up. After 10 years, people were really fed up with that kind of governance. So he became the fall guy, record low turnout, record low vote, and then of course far right actually emerged as an entity, and that is going to be a huge problem. But now, because Brigadier Saab was talking about 2-3 things regarding hybrid warfare or 5th generation warfare. The first question that comes to my mind, we keep on looking at numbers, how much traction what is getting. That is a function of how you are going to actually play the game. but the actual game is finding a counter narrative. And there has to be one, right? There has to be a think tank. Look at India. Whatever you do, in the end, India, lands like a cat on its feet. Why? Because they have somehow created this humongous apparatus of foreign policy experts, of defense policy and economics experts and technology wizards, right? Who actually come together and shape the entire world's narrative around what they want to do. So there has to be a think tank, policy think tank, which actually brings out the best policy arguments, which then people can use and fight back. Without that, you are not going to win this game. Even if you lock up the entire internet for the country, even then they will find a way to demoralize you, because this is how they do it. Now, Brigadier Saab was also talking about job creation. Look, here's the dilemma. I love the idea of job creation. I think that is number one measure of economy's performance. But on one side, we have this government sector that we have agreed in principle going to IMF that government sector, particularly SOEs, are not performing. And that means they are inefficient, and eventually the fat will have to be cut, right? Now, when you talk about private sector usually takes time to revive. So what do? How do you create jobs? Do you create jobs in the government sector? There is one example of India where they actually went with public works programs, and that is Manrega it is called. It is a great program, at least at the lowest level. It can create some kind of occasional jobs through which people get food on their table. Now, very quickly, another thing that was said, and technology and everything. You realize that our problems are not mostly hardware problems. Our problems are software problems. Technology is there. At this moment, there is a debate going on in the US about H-1B visa, the technical visa, temporary visa for highly skilled labor. And do you know how many of Indians get, what is India's quota? So far, India has been getting 80% of those visas. Why would that be? Because somewhere IITs were created and the quality standards stayed the same, and their export has been going up and up, right? Compared to that, Pakistan's total contribution was 1,000 total visas in the last year, right? Pakistan is not anywhere. Why would that be? Because we have given up on education of complexity. We are not producing best graduates in the university. So if you do that, and if you take care of the quality, you will be able to produce the kind of people who will be able to create jobs in the country on their own, right? And finally, Afghanistan. One thing is for sure, once again, take care of border. Whatever happens on the other side, as long as there is no place for the other side to go for incursion, you are capable of taking care of your own internal dynamics. And finally, media. Our media has to be convinced, particularly all these dinosaurs like me who are sitting on television and who are not actually adhering to the counter-terrorism narrative, right? That narrative has to be hammered on.
Definitely.
If these people, these dinosaurs cannot absorb and re-deliver that, then they should go, and younger people like you should take their place.
Definitely a very fruitful conversation and a very pragmatic approach to, of course, the yearly roundup of the Pakistan security situation and the challenges the country faces. Of course, all the gentlemen, thank you for your time in being part of the conversation. Brigadier Nawaz, Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal, thank you all for being part of the conversation. See you same time tomorrow, and of course, we'll be deliberating on a different aspect, but take care.